Hello, and welcome to this summary of some of the key learnings from the Accelerate book. I hope you find it useful as you try to improve your organization's software delivery. We'll begin our discussion of Accelerate by starting with a series of industry standard metrics known as the DORA metrics. This video will explore the purpose and rationale behind why those particular metrics were chosen. The focus of Chapter 2 is on measuring delivery performance. But when considering how to measure performance, not all metrics are created equal. Valuable metrics need to focus on global outcomes so as to avoid pitting teams against each other, and they need to emphasize outcomes over output so that they don't reward low-value busy work. The book identifies 4 key metrics to measure delivery performance. First, we have delivery lead time, also known as lead time for change. This metric focuses on the time taken for a change to be delivered. Lead time for change is a subset of lead time as a whole, which includes design, implementation, and delivery. Delivery lead time focuses on that last part. So why track lead time for change? To quote the book, shorter product lead times are better since they enable faster feedback on what we are building and allow us to course correct more rapidly. Second, we have delivery frequency. Delivery frequency serves as a proxy for measuring batch size, and reducing batch size improves flow, feedback efficiency, and it reduces risk and costs. Third, we have mean time to recovery. This metric measures how quickly service can be restored in the event of a failure. It reflects the resilience and recovery capabilities of the organization. And then finally, we have the change failure rate. This metric measures the percentage of changes to production that result in degraded service or require remediation. It provides insight into the stability of software releases. You'll notice the first 2 metrics focus on delivery tempo, while the last 2 focus on delivery stability and quality. Okay, having identified these measures, the research team analyzed the data. The research found 3 categories of performance. There were high, medium, and low performing organizations. High performing organizations excelled in all the categories, demonstrating that there is no trade-off between delivery tempo and stability. However, some low performers who focused on increasing delivery frequency without considering stability, like maybe they just said, just work harder, faster, they suffered setbacks and ended up having to pull back on frequency while they dealt with the quality and stability issues. So, does software delivery performance matter? The research confirms that an organization's software delivery capabilities can provide a competitive advantage. High-performing organizations exhibited better profitability, market share, and productivity, highlighting the significance of optimizing the software delivery processes. Next, we'll look at the effect of organizational culture, since capturing these metrics is most effective in a generative culture. In this section, we'll be looking at organizational culture. At the end of Chapter 2, the authors closed with this warning. In organizations with a learning culture, performance metrics are incredibly powerful. But in pathological and bureaucratic organizational cultures, measurement is used as a form of control, and people hide information that challenges existing rules, strategies, and power structures. That leads us to the topic of culture. What is a pathological culture? What is a learning culture? Culture consists of 3 levels: assumptions, values, and artifacts. Assumptions are the least visible, but the most foundational. This is followed by values, which provide a lens for people to interpret relationships and events. And then finally, artifacts, such as mission statements. These are the most visible expressions of a culture. Now, using Westrom's model, cultures can be categorized into 3 types. First, a pathological culture. This is a power-oriented culture characterized by fear or threats. People hoard or distort information to protect themselves. Second, we have a bureaucratic culture. This is a rule-oriented culture where departments use rules to protect their own interests and maintain their own turf. And then finally, we have a generative culture. This is a performance or a mission-oriented culture that focuses on this shared mission. It continually asks, how do we accomplish our goal? A generative culture is a learning culture. Culture predicts the way information flows within an organization. Information flow with a generative or learning culture can be characterized by the following statements. Information is actively sought. Messengers are not punished when they deliver bad news. Responsibilities are shared. Cross-functional collaboration is encouraged and rewarded. Failure causes inquiry. New ideas are welcomed, and failures are treated as opportunities to improve the system. What is the impact of such a culture? Generative cultures predict higher trust, leading to more effective collaboration, higher quality decision-making, higher job satisfaction, and ultimately, improved software delivery and organizational performance. So then, how can a culture change? According to the authors, lean management, along with a set of other technical practices known collectively as continuous delivery, do in fact impact culture. This is a somewhat, at least to me, surprising statement, and in future sections, we will explore what these different practices might be. So far, we've learned that improved software delivery, as measured by release tempo and stability, result in better organizational outcomes. We've also learned that a learning, performance-oriented culture leads to better software delivery. At the end of Chapter 3, the authors make the claim that certain technical practices, known collectively as continuous delivery, lead to both a better culture and therefore better business outcomes. In this section, covering Chapter 4, we'll look at those technical practices. First, there are 5 key principles of continuous delivery. Number 1, build in quality. The idea here is to remove the need for batch inspection by creating a system that detects and resolves issues right away. Second, work in small batches. Splitting work into smaller chunks allows organizations to get essential business feedback. While smaller chunks can add some overhead, it enables us to avoid work that provides no or negative value. Third, have computers perform repetitive tasks. People solve problems. Investing in automation frees people up for higher value problem solving. Number 4, relentlessly pursue continuous improvement. Quote, the most important characteristic of high-performing teams is that they are never satisfied. They always strive to get better. And finally, number 5, everyone is responsible. Because we are seeking system-level outcomes, not just the success of one group or department, we need close collaboration across disciplines in the software delivery process. Now, these principles lead to 8 specific technical practices. Listed briefly, they are as follows. 1. Use version control for all product artifacts. 2. Automate your deployment process. 3. Implement continuous integration. 4. Use trunk-based development methods. 5. Implement test automation. This means implementing automated tests that, when they pass, provide confidence that the software is reliable and that are reliable enough that when they fail, teams are confident that the failures represent real defects. Number 6, support test data management. Number 7, shift left on security. And number 8, implement continuous delivery. To summarize, quote, when implemented correctly, the process of releasing new versions to users should be a routine activity that can be performed on demand at any time. Continuous delivery requires that developers and testers, as well as UX, product, and operations people, collaborate effectively throughout the delivery process. To understand the impacts of the technical practices associated with continuous delivery, consider the following diagram, a reproduction of Figure 4.2. As already noted, continuous delivery practices led to a better organizational culture, according to Westrom's model, and to improve software delivery performance. But it's also worth noting that continuous delivery also improved employee identification with the organization, higher quality, as measured by the amount of rework and change failure rate, and a more sustainable work environment, including less deployment pain and less burnout. Next, we'll look at the lean management and product development practices associated with improved software delivery performance. So, which management practices drove improved software delivery? The research team behind Accelerate identified 4 practices. 1. Limiting work in progress, or WIP. WIP limits are used to ensure that teams don't become overburdened, which leads to longer lead times and results in obstacles to flow. Use of WIP limits is a well-known tool within the Lean community. Another goal of WIP limits is to make obstacles to flow more visible, which enables teams to identify and remove obstacles through efforts in performance improvement. 2. Creating and maintaining visual displays showing key quality and productivity metrics. WIP limits only work when they are combined with visual displays and other monitoring tools, which we will get to later. Examples of visual displays would be a Kanban or storyboard, or boards that display information about quality, productivity, or defect rate. Quote, visibility and the high-quality communication it enables are key. 3. Using data from monitoring tools to make business decisions. This is especially effective when used in combination with WIP limits and visualizations. 4. Using a lightweight change approval process. The research found that lightweight approval processes, such as those based on peer review, combined with a deployment pipeline designed to automatically detect bad changes, was far superior to approval processes that required an external body like a change approval board. Okay, what about product development practices? Which of those correlated to better deployment? Again, the authors identified 4 lean product development practices. 1. Work in small batches. You'll notice that this was also one of the technical practices described in the previous section. But this is also, and probably originates as, a product development practice. Using MVPs, minimal viable products, and decomposing complex features into more simple components can become the keys to unlocking the ability to work and deliver small batches. Number 2, enable development teams to create and update specifications during development without the approval of people outside of the team. This sort of enablement needs to be combined with the ability for teams to get feedback from customers and respond to that feedback. Without that feedback loop, teams will not be able to make well-informed independent decisions. The last 2 are 3, gather customer feedback, which we have already mentioned above, and 4, give team visibility into the flow of work from business all the way through to customers. Both of those are required for product development teams to work effectively with the product leadership teams to make good product decisions. Finally, the authors make a point that effective product management drives performance and that high performance in software delivery drives lean product management practices. This forms a virtuous cycle, as shown in this reproduction of figure 8.2. In the final section, we'll look at the impact of transformational leadership. We've now looked at technical practices, lean management practices, and product development practices that contribute to improved software delivery performance. We'll now look at the role that leaders play. The authors demonstrate that transformational leadership is a critical component in improvements in software delivery. However, leaders cannot affect change on their own. Instead, leaders have significant yet indirect impact. The book uses words like enable, support, enhance, and amplify to describe how leaders contribute. Before looking at the specific practices, we'll do a quick overview of the characteristics that were highly correlated with software delivery performance. 1. Leaders had a clear vision of where the organization is going and where it should be in the future. 2. Leaders communicate in a way that inspires and motivates. 3. Leaders challenge their teams to think through problems in innovative ways. 4. Leaders demonstrated support through care and concern for their team's needs. 5. Leaders acknowledged and recognized individuals for their outstanding work and goals accomplished. The chapter then goes on to recommend some specific practices for leaders. Each of these behaviors are aimed at improving organizational culture. So first, to enable cross-functional collaboration, leaders can build trust with their counterparts on other teams, encourage movements between departments. This can lead to cross-department learning, and actively reward work that facilitates collaboration. Secondly, they can build a climate of learning. They can do this by creating a training budget or advocating for its use, giving teams space and resources to explore new ideas, like giving 20% time for experimentation or trying new things, by making it safe to fail, creating opportunities to share information, and encourage sharing information through things like demo days or other cross-department sharing of knowledge. In these ways, and others, leaders can again support and amplify their team's work. Okay, before concluding this video, I just want to make some final notes. First, the video only covers a subset of the book. In all, the book identifies 24 key capabilities, and not all of them have been discussed here. Second, the book emphasizes that organizations cannot simply try to copy and adopt the practices of others. This quote near the end of their book drives home that point and is a good place to conclude. They say, this is about learning how to create an environment for shared organizational learning, not just about doing the practices and certainly not about employing tools. Don't look to copy other enterprises on their methods and practices or to implement an expert-designed model. Study and learn from them, but then experiment and adapt to what works for you and your culture.